Hey, what's up, everybody? Working on a 2017 Jeep Wrangler. Gonna be installing a new steering dampener. It's rough country. This is the part number, N3 steering stabilizer. These are all the parts, and I'm gonna walk you through how to do it. I already uninstalled the stock one, which was fun, and we're gonna go ahead and get this new one on. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna take our big axle bracket and the U-bolts. We're going to install it right here. So you want it like this, going down, and you got to feed it over the tie rod. I've installed quite a bit of these. The instructions say to push it up flush with the housing, but I have found out that it works better and it doesn't bottom out quite as bad if you offset it just like 1/4 of an inch. We're going to get these U-bolts in place. Maybe. I'm putting it in the wrong way. Get these U-bolts in place, like so. Like that. Get the other one. Get them fed through. We're going to get these nuts on them. And keep in mind, as we do this, we're going to leave everything loose. We're just going to snug it up, because once it's on, we got to turn the wheels back and forth and make sure that everything is working okay. Nothing's binding up, nothing's the shock absorber isn't bottoming out. Okay. These are 14 millimeters. You're not going to want to tighten one all the way up. You're going to want to work them each separately and bring them in nice and even. last one's kind of a pain. Got all the other bolts in the way, plus the tie rods and the drag link. Alright, so that's snugged up. You're going to want to make it as level as you can, which that looks pretty good. And then we're going to move on. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to install this bracket, which goes on the tie rod with the supplied U-bolts. And the way this is to be positioned, you take it and you want this part. This is where the bolt goes in for the shock absorber, for the steering dampener. You want that up and to the inside, offset to the inside. And you're also going to want to take your bolt that the steering dampener is going to bolt to and put that in first, because once you have this in place, you cannot get this bolt in. You cannot get the bolt in. So you do that before you put these U-bolts in. These are also 14s. And this is supposed to be straight up and down. And they say resting against this tie rod sleeve over here. And just like everything else, we're going to leave these just snugged up for adjustments once it's all together. Alright, that seems pretty good. Oh. The bolt got wedged. Pull that up. Snug it back up. There we go. Next thing we're going to do is install our rough country bracket and the inner section of the dampener. So you got two bolts. You got a long one and a short one. The long one's going to go to this driver's side hole because that's where the steering dampener is going to mount. So I need to loosen, where'd my wrench go? I need to loosen these just a touch. So I need a little bit of play out of here. To get this bolt in. And there we go. So that bolt's in place. Get the other side in place. And then we got a washer for both sides. We'll start the small one first because we still got to put our dampener in place on the long bolt. Just like that. And then we're going to take our dampener, and you got two ends. You got this end that stays still, and this is the end that moves in and out. The end that moves in and out goes to the tie rod side. So we're going to take the end that's stationary, and we're going to get it up onto that bolt. There we go. And then we're going to put our washer and our nut on. And these I'm just going to leave loose for now. Next thing I'm going to do, this is the last of the parts we have to install. We have your sleeve and a nut and a washer. So the sleeve has to go into the steering dampener bushing. You can simply press it in by hand, no big deal. And then we have to pull the absorber out so that we can get it onto this bolt. Slide it down just like so. And then we're going to take our nut and our washer. My sleeve's slightly pushed up, but that's not a big deal. Once you tighten it down, it'll push into place. All right. So now it's all into place. I'm going to snug up these bolts a little more so that it's not dangling. Now what I need to do, now that everything's in place, is start the car and turn the wheels back and forth. Make sure that everything is okay. Make sure the dampener's not bottoming out. Things like that. Everything appears to be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start tightening all this stuff down. I use my impact on these lower ones just to speed things up a little bit. That should be good. I'm going to tighten these ones up on the tie rod end. Then I get a ratchet for that. The top two are tight. Now I'm gonna use my electric impact again and get these lower ones snug. Now all we have to do is tighten these bigger bolts that are here on the tie rod end. And then also here on the axle end. And these are 19 millimeters. The nut and the bolt are 19s. So I quickly realized to tighten these two bolts up, it's going to be way easier if you leave this tie rod disconnected, which you have to undo to get the factory stabilizer out anyway. So we're going to go ahead and tighten those up now that I got that tie rod off. All right, but there's no way around around that on this end. Because the bolt head is right here. So you have to put a wrench on it. So you just got to do this by hand. So I'm going to go ahead and reattach this tie rod and then finish that up. Okay, now that I got my tie rod reconnected and the wheel back on, I'm going to go ahead and reconnect this end, or connect this end, tighten that bolt down. Like I said, the bolt and nut are both 19 millimeters. This may be a pain. Don't have a lot of room to work here. There we go. Everything's installed. Last thing I have to do is just put the rough country sticker here. Just put the rough country sticker right here on the cylinder and everything's all done. Just one thing to keep in mind up here on your drag link, if these bolts are facing the other way, you're going to want to loosen those up and move these clamps and then rebolt them down so that they do not come in contact with the shock absorber. You don't want that to happen. Other than that, it's all done. You got a brand new rough country steering dampener. Thanks for watching, guys.